afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today for our Communication is a Two-Way Street session. I hope that you had an excellent first part of the afternoon session, and we are going to keep you engaged, whether you want to be engaged or not.
And we were just at this, we were here doing the tasting thing, so we're a little full of cheese.
We're full of cheese.
So, just take that into consideration.
They took the cheese away. We're really sad. I'm Jen Colby, and this is my husband, Chris Sargent. And we have been, Chris has been very supportive, but I primarily have been the livestock farmer on our place for 26 years, technically. And then between us, we've worked in agriculture, natural resources, land use planning. We had a barbecue team for a while with our pork. We have some fans in the audience at the barbecue. And then we farmed in a number of different locations, and at the current farm, we're in central Vermont, and the current farm we're at is we are farm stay hosts. We have a yurt, and we have some tent sites as well that we're doing. In the last several years, we've also become, I call this success principles trainers because that's actually what we're trained in, but it really has a lot to do with leadership development, working on the things that hold us back, working on our personal skills. We both worked our way up through our professional careers in sort of more programming stuff, and just saw how at the individual level, it's us that are holding us back. The systems are out there, and the systems can work for us or not work for us, but really what we can do, we'll talk about this, is we can make change ourselves, and that's the first best place. And that led us to actually the last couple of years becoming trauma-informed facilitators, doing emotional well-being facilitation and healing. Anything you want to say about that while we're here? Nope, we're good. Okay.
Sounded good.
Okay, good. So thanks. So we're incorporating that into.
Well communicated.
Thank you. We don't get to present together very often, so it's actually really fun to be able to do that. So first, now that you're all here.
Everybody pause. Go ahead and close your eyes for a second. And actually, before you do, wait. If you have a pen and paper and I'm going to have you write one word down. So get that or use your phone. But before you write it down, let's pause just for a moment. Take a deep in breath and then an out breath. Now, when you think of communication, one word is going to pop right in. Whatever the word is, no matter how ridiculous it is or whatever it is, just take that one word and write that down. When you think of communication, what comes up? And resisting any urge to edit it, make it pretty. And you happens. So does anyone want to share what the word was that came up for you? Good.
Hard.
Okay.
Hard.
That's my word.
We have hard.
I'm just going to repeat.
Frequent.
Frequent.
Dialogue.
Balance. Yeah, excellent.
Humor.
Excellent. Yeah.
Strange.
String.
String.
Share what that means. Just I'm curious.
I don't totally know.
Okay, yeah. So you just took what came. Perfect. Good job. Excellent. Nice work.
That's it. That's the whole resisting the urge to edit. Is
right.
We don't even know necessarily sometimes what comes up.
Yeah. Maybe that'll make sense to
you. Yeah. You just never know. It just never know.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So good communication, it starts inside us, and we can communicate with other people, but we can't control what they do. We can't control how they act. We can't control any of that stuff. All we can, there's the zone of control of things that we can control, and then there is everything else. And so the only actual control that we have is ourselves. And so communication best starts with us. And it's really about responsibility. It is acknowledging good or bad, the people that we interact with, everything that we experience is something that we either created, we promoted, we supported this, or we allowed it. So whether it's behavior that we don't love, but we are allowing, we're still responsible for that too, for not having boundaries against that behavior, or something that we are encouraging, promoting. Those are all, these are the things. So we need to start with the fact that we can control how we are, and that is taking responsibility for the things that are coming back to us. It's not our fault necessarily. That is a different thing. There are things that we can be responsible for. We can't be responsible for someone else. So what that looks like, it actually comes out in a formula, which is a simple formula. Lots of folks even will write it down. I even know people who have it tattooed on their body to remember it, because it is this foundational. E plus R equals O. Event plus response equals outcome. We can't always control the event. Events happen. They happen because of things that we do. They happen because of things outside of our control. But we can control the response. And the response can make all the difference. It can create an entirely different outcome. In fact, it is the only thing, because the event is the thing that happens. How we respond to that event can change everything.
And I think this is really relevant right now because there's a lot of events happening that are in our control.
Yes.
And yet how we respond to that, we have a choice. And we can, and sometimes it's not always easy to choose the choice that is necessarily the healthiest choice, but we still have a choice to be able to choose how we respond to it. And that'll change the outcome. For us at least.
Okay. So as we develop this, communication is a two-way street, and it's a street that we're all walking. So our street is what we take in from others and what we give out to others. So it's receiving and it is giving out, and it is listening and it is speaking. It is hearing and embodying, and it is also talking and dialoguing.
And it is being curious about what's going on outwardly with the people you're communicating with, and also what's going on inside us as someone who's also part of the communication circle.
So I thought that I would start with some brain science because I am a little nerdy that way. And also I found it to be really, for those of us, and I feel like this is really key in agriculture, we like science and data. This has been my experience in all of these years working in agriculture. We like to know why things work. We don't always talk about neuroscience, but maybe we should talk about neuroscience a little bit more. We love grass and we love soil and we love animals, and we want to understand the biology of why and how all those systems work. So this is a little bit about how our communication systems work in our body. So why do we do the things we do? Why do other people do some of the things that they do? And how do we create safety? Just key, because we can't communicate until we create safety.
We can't communicate effectively. We can communicate.
Oh, well, that's we can speak
effectively.
We can yell. we can express, but it won't necessarily be received if the person on the other end is not feeling safe. So the three-part brain is a theory that was developed to describe the way that our higher functioning brain evolved, not devolved, that's different, evolved over time. So we've had, as we've evolved over millions of years, the parts of our brain have grown essentially around each other. So we started with a reptilian brain. That's essentially our brain stem. And that is what we go back to. That is our fight, flight, freeze. That is the core thing that we go back to. And then over time, we developed the mammal brain. And the mammal, and that we just more the emotional center. We feel fear. We feel fear as an emotion, not as a fight, flight, freeze state. Love, jealousy, like all of those rich emotions that we have. If you have not read any Brene Brown, she really, even Atlas of the Heart, she actually names and describes the emotions that we have that many of us have felt and don't have words for. It's an amazing, amazing book for that. And then we get to the upper brain, this wonderful frontal lobe that we have, and it's our thinking mind, it's our logic, it's our problem solving, it's how we, and that and the opposable thumb are why we are here right now. It's because we evolved the ability to so logically think about things. So the three-part brain theory, hang on one second, the three-part brain theory is, it's a little simplified. We've learned more in neuroscience, but since this theory first came out, but it's a great way to just understand that there are different parts. Our brain actually works together more than this theory will really outline, but it gives us a good sense of what we're working at. And stress or overwhelm gets these parts fighting with each other. They're not working, they're not communicating well when we get into those places of high stress. You're gonna say.
And well, I want to just add one thing that that's something we all I think need to keep in mind, and this is a part I think feeds into the need for curiosity, is that we spend a lot of our time up in our thinking mind. And it's like our culturally, we've prized the thinking. It's like, I think, therefore I am, except the reality is that a lot of what we do is guided by this. A lot of what we do is because of our emotional responses. And we can't think our way through these as effectively as we might like. So there are ways to work with a lot of the somatic stuff. More and more science is talking about how our emotions are really rooted in our body. And it's like, so we have to recognize that those are they're playing. We may not want our emotions to have a role in our communication, but they do. And I think that's being curious, which we'll talk about a lot in a few minutes, is really important to kind of be able to get those things to work together.
And actually, we don't have this on slides, but related to this is the conscious, the unconscious, and the subconscious, and we're holding epigenetically in our cells, in our bodies, we're holding memories. So we don't think of that as a brain, but actually, it's part of our unconscious brain is actually all the memories that we're holding inside of our bodies. Yes.
I'm reading a book right now, and the lady talks about something very similar, where how you have like a gut feeling.
Yes.
Exactly.
There's so much that even in your gut.
Yes, the gut feeling is absolutely a thing, and I'm so glad that you mentioned that because that may show up soon.
Yeah. Way to lead in.
That was good. So a book that I also have to recommend is called The Biology of Trauma by Dr. Amy Apigian. She talks about using not just the term trauma, but the term overwhelm, and terrific book. She describes trauma and overwhelm coming from one of two things, and often both, and that is too little for too long. How much money can we stretch on this farm for too long? Can we go for years and years with not enough money? Too little for too long. Maybe we could go through a short period of time where we don't have enough money, but when we go through years and years and years, it creates a feeling of overwhelm. And then too much too fast. Oh my gosh, all these things are coming at me. Maybe it's a drought, maybe it's a flood, maybe it's, a sickness sweeps through with our livestock, and then suddenly we're feeling like it's too much. Either of those is enough to cause stress, overwhelm, and be anchored in our bodies and become trauma as well. What's really rough is when you have too little for too long, and then you get hit with too much too fast. You don't have any capacity. So what all of those will end up doing is it will hijack. We'll go straight into the amygdala is a part of our brain that will hijack us and it will send us right into that instinctive place. So when we are feeling overwhelmed, we'll lash out. So we go into fight or flight or freeze. When we get triggered by something, then flight can show up fight can show up in getting physical. Fight can show up in fighting with each other verbally, arguing, that kind of thing. Flight can be, I don't have time for that meeting. I never have time for that. Or literally just leaving. I mean, I don't know if any of you had the same experience. I've certainly had the experience where, oh, I thought we were going to do this thing right now. Oh no, you just decided to go away this afternoon suddenly without any warning. That's some flight response about whatever we were going to talk about. And that's going right into that primary place. And freeze is interesting because freeze, sometimes it actually, when you go to that primal place of freeze, sometimes it looks like agreement because it's silence. And that's not good either. That is going to that same kind of a place.
Or sometimes it's like brain fog. It's like,
yes,
I don't even know what to do. I can't even make a decision. You know, that's a form of freeze.
That's a form of freeze too. Yeah. So when we see these and we're in these tough, really stressful situations, what is a good way to actually create some communication? How do we get out of that? How do we change that? And the key is to create safety before you can do anything else, before you can have any kind of conversation, communication. So this is where we get to the vagus nerve. Don't know who in the room has heard of the vagus nerve? Excellent. I love you science nerds. You're so great. Cool. Let the online folks know that the folks in the room definitely have heard of the vagus nerve. So the vagus nerve, for those who haven't heard about it, it is an incredible, I believe it's the largest nerve.
It's the largest nerve
in your body. And it connects your brain, it connects your heart, it connects your gut. This is the source of the gut feeling. Yep. It's not just that it's, a good thing or a bad thing. It's that it's connected to our safety at the most cellular level. And it's part of the parasympathetic system. So it's nervous system. So it's part of the rest and reset system. So when the vagus nerve is calm and happy, our digestion is good. When the vagus nerve is not calm and happy, our digestion is not necessarily very good. There's a number of gut issues that actually come from a long period of lack of safety that comes. And maybe that comes from when we were a kid. Maybe that comes from something when we were an adult. There's a lot of different systems within the body. Skin things can show up. Digestive, heart, high blood pressure, also connected back into vagus nerve as well. Yes. Can I jump in? Absolutely.
So one of the things that we've learned over the past few years, as Jen and I have been training in the trauma healing modality that we're trained in, is that the vagus nerve is really, really attuned to speech. Not just the language, not the words, but the tone. And that's a key thing that needs to be taken in. So Jen and I were driving down in the car, talking about this on Wednesday, and I was like, oh, I have a really good example. So who has or had a parent who could say one little phrase and it just makes you go, it just triggers you instantly? Raise your hand. Yeah, okay. So one of Jen's is Jesus Jen. And it's, see, I mean,
you didn't say it quite as
well, yeah, because you got to be
not derisive enough,
right? But it's
Jesus Jen.
But it's that. And if I said Jesus Jen, it's very different than Jesus Jen. But you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like that is so different, and it matters. And so that's a factor that we have to consider in our communication. Is that tone matters. We're going to do a little demo or practice on that.
Yeah.
But not yet.
Yes, we're going to do that in a sec. Another way to calm us down is to recognize the role that mirror neurons play. And mirror neurons are these specialized brain cells that activate when we perform an action and someone else performs a similar action. And what it does is we see each other. Essentially, we're connecting with each other. So this was noticed in monkeys. It's evolved over time. It's part of biological evolution. We get it when we're at a conference together with other people that we really enjoy, and we're talking and we're feeling comfortable and we're feeling seen. This is all activating. This is part of our safety feeling. Our safety creation is when we're in community with other people that are like us and we're having these kinds of exchanges. Music, like Chris was talking about, like that happens with sound. It's part of the reason why there are soundtracks. They help us feel attuned to the scene and the characters in that movie. And I don't know if you've ever had actually, I'm curious, has anyone had the experience where, okay, the classic example that we use in our household is, anyone ever seen the movie from the 1980s called Lady Hawk? Oh man, we're old. Wow. Okay. So at the time when it came out, it was, I don't know, 1986 or something, when it came out, it had this rockin' 80s soundtrack with guitars.
Fantasy, old fantasy.
High fantasy movie.
But with rock and roll.
With rock and roll. It did not work. They re-released the movie with a classical soundtrack, and it was like a classical soundtrack that fit with a high fantasy movie. Really completely changes your mirror neuron feeling, just absolutely.
And have you ever, I don't
Yeah.
think anyone you have ever seen it, but people will take on YouTube or something like that, and they'll take like an iconic scene from a movie. The one that comes to mind for me is in the first Star Wars movie when Darth Vader sort of comes walking in for the first time. And he's got a theme song and it's really distinctive. But if you change it to like, Uptown Funk, it changes that scene entirely. And it's like, again, that's the power that changing the tone can have.
Yes, and then we don't mirror with that anymore.
Mhm.
Like, this is ridiculous. Yeah. So what yes, and feeling heard makes us feel safe. If we don't feel heard, somebody can be talking to us. We can have a great thinking mind kind of a conversation. But if we don't feel heard, the safety piece of it isn't there. If we don't get to that place, then we can't really get to that dialogue that we want to get to.
We could demo something that this isn't exactly me feeling heard.
Oh,
I'm just thinking about how quickly could we demo that. So I'm thinking we do this as a practice with students who are learning the modality, but it's like, if someone comes to you and they say, man, I am having a bad day. So respond to that in a way that's absolutely not mirroring me totally. I'm having a really bad day.
Yeah, that's bad.
Now I'm having a really bad day.
That's too bad.
Yeah. And see, there's a difference, and it may seem subtle, and you may think, well, why does that matter? But it's like when someone sort of responds to something that you're sharing in a dismissive way, tonally, maybe it's because they're distracted and they're on their phone, but it's still like, do you feel heard when that happens? Right. And so that's like, that's part of being engaged in communicating, so recognize that.
No, we'll do the other thing. Yeah, there we go. Okay. So this is part of, you all get to practice some of this too, because you can't do a communication workshop without actually practicing some communication. Okay, so turn to the person beside you or behind you or whatever works. We're just gonna do this in pairs. Grab a pair person. Thank you, Colin, you too. Okay.
So we're going
right.
to demo this. We're going to demo this first.
Yep, so you can see. Yep.
So you describe.
Yeah, so the shortest person with the shortest hair is going to speak first, and we'll do one side. We'll do one side. We'll show you what that one side is, and then as soon as you've done it, we'll come back.
Okay, so we're gonna ask the question, why are you late today? Except we're gonna ask it in 3 different ways.
3 different ways. Pick the ways you want to say it. Could be louder, could be softer, accent in whatever way you want to.
So just like this.
Yeah.
So why are you late today? Why are you late today? Why are you late today? Simple
Okay.
as that.
Just do that. And shortest hair person goes first.
And then, so one person does it 3 times and then they take things.
We're doing it. And thanks for going with us, folks, online. I hope you practice this at home as well.
All right, and raise your hand when you're done. Raise your hand if you're done.
Okay, good team. No, we're not gonna switch. We're gonna do a different phrase on the other side.
Yeah, we'll switch. We'll do something else for the other side.
Yep. So you can each practice things. Okay.
All right.
So when you go with the longer hair person,
What do you have?
what's going on with you lately? What's going on with you lately? What's going on with you lately?
All right, so flip, and do the same thing.
Step it.
All right, so raise your hand if you're done.
Yep, raise your hand if you're done. Okay, team. All right. Okay, so.
Raise your hands if you're done.
Yep, you're all set. Cool. Okay.
Okay. So the person who was the receiver of that, what did you notice? Whoever wants to make it, tell me what you noticed. Raise your hand. Okay, go ahead.
I just see their facial expressions, their body language change.
When you were the speaker or when you were the receiver? Yep. And how did that feel?
As it changes, it makes you feel differently how you want to respond to that. Don't it?
Yeah.
I feel like especially with that second one, it actually completely changed the meaning of the dialogue.
In what way?
And what's going on with you lately could be like an actual hey, I care about you and I want to know what's up versus hey, you're being an idiot recently.
All the way back.
The way that the speaker presents the information creates all sorts of assumptions on their perspective in the hearer. So like one of the ways she said, what's going on with you lately, it felt like I was talking to my friend from college I hadn't seen in 6 months. And another way it was like, you were fucking up.
You have a theme. Yeah. Anyone else?
Yeah, G.
It made me realize that I would say it differently if this person was a male than a female.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, excellent.
Saying it differently for male and female. Interesting.
The way that I interpreted the last iteration of the question, I thought it was genuine concern, but we were just thinking that was not the way that she was thinking.
Yeah, interesting.
Oh, yes. So feeling on one side like it was genuine concern and just not feeling it on the other side.
Yeah, one of Elsa's really freaked me out, and I said that, and she was like, that was not what I was going for.
Oh, yeah.
But that's a great demonstration, right? It's like the way we say things really matters, and the way they're received.
Really bad.
We can't always know exactly how they're going to be received because there's a lot of stuff going on that we filter individually when we receive things through all sorts of our life's experiences, and so it really can change the way things are received.
And I'll just add, so as Chris and I have been going through trauma healing facilitation the last couple of years, we've brought up a lot of stuff. We've worked through a lot of stuff, and we've had some really interesting fights about, well, wait a minute, we don't do this anymore, except somewhere there's some little tone of voice that goes back to some moment 20 years ago, been together for a long time. Again, old, that we didn't even realize, like he said, he would say something like, oh, I just said that, I wasn't expecting anything. And I'm like, oh no, I'm back to when we were 22 and having this. So, and I didn't even know that until we had a conversation about it.
But it's like in that moment, you could be pulled back to that version of you that's triggered. and respond as maybe as inelegantly as you might have done at that point in your life. And that's where, again, we're going to get into talking about curiosity a little bit. Sometimes that's going, why did I respond like that? What was that?
Yeah.
That's nice.
I'm not sure. Oh, we're shifting to the conversation side. There we go. Oh, goodness.
Oh,
I was gonna say, you're doing more of the conversation
Okay.
stuff, right?
So, and I think we talked about this, and this came up actually, you know, we receive something and we might have a story about what we're receiving. This is what that person thinks, right? So there's facts, which are of course an event or condition that you have directly seen, heard, or experienced. The cows got out, okay? They're out. I watched them get out. They're out, right? And there's an interpretation of the facts that's subjective and maybe just one of many explanations. You know, if someone hadn't left the damn fence open, the cows wouldn't have gotten out. Well, did you see someone leave the fence open? If you didn't, then that's a story. It may be a true story, but until you have figured out the facts, you don't know that. And we have a tendency, all of us, I think, to bring to go with stories. And I think that's even become more and more culturally common to choose story versus real facts. So here we're gonna have you guys, you know, pair up, or you could get into larger groups if you wanted. And we're gonna do a little bit of an exercise that will be like, we'll give you like 10 minutes. So we say 5 minutes.
5 minutes to read it.
So
Yeah.
first, start by reading these two things, and then we're gonna have you sort of get together as a group and talk about these 3 questions that are at the bottom. And you know, you guys could get into, I don't know, 4 groups or 5 groups or whatever works. If you need to come up and look at it, feel free. I can read it to you if you want me to read it to you. I can do that.
Can we have a show of hands whether you'd like us to read it? I'm guessing it's probably a little hard to read from the back of the book. Okay.
So, okay, we have, here's the stories and facts, and this is sort of how to tell the difference. On a small, diversified livestock operation, the owner hires interns and apprentices for peak season. The interns are offered a room in the farmhouse, farm food, and a weekly stipend of $200. Their work schedule is 50 to 60 hours a week. The stated goal for the apprentice position is that the low pay, long hours are offered in exchange for learning how to farm. After a month on the farm, the interns are feeling that they're working hard, but not learning a whole lot more than the basics of feeding animals and setting fence. When confronted about this, the owner states that the first thing the interns need to do is learn how to work. The interns are frustrated that they're not getting any educational value out of the experience, and the owner is upset that the interns are slow, do poor quality work, lack attention to detail, and exhibit negative attitudes. So what we want you to do is get together in groups, and then for like 10 minutes and think about what are the facts that are being talked about here? What are the stories that are being told? And how could the owner and the interns collect more facts? Because it's in the facts that we can operate, have a real conversation. Because we can't have a conversation with the stories because they're so embedded in our personal responses. We got to talk about facts. If you want to have a good conversation and communicate, it needs to be about the facts. So go ahead. Let's, has everybody got that? Does anyone want to get a picture of their phone or something like that?
You can leave it up.
You can leave it up.
Yep, we can leave it up.
All right. So how long?
Let's give you like 5 minutes.
5 minutes, and if you need more time, you can.
And any of our friends online, if you want to drop in some chat or anything, any other comments, please feel free to do that.
We want to have do this.
Nope. I'm so glad, Ben, that listening is also amazing. And if you want to drop something in, please do. I might have it open so you can comment or not. It's great.
Yeah, I think you're doing a good
Like, I feel like back to the meeting, they have a room that, but then it tells us that, somebody comes to the topic, says, and then okay, you said it, and I said, well, it's like, that's a story he's telling us, so.
Well, and also, feeling like you're not getting information.
Well, yeah. So who needs more time? You guys want one more time? Anyone else want one more time? Okay, you guys got 30 seconds. Do you want to
All right, so what did you come up with? Or if you need more time, does anybody need more time? It looks like you're good. Okay. So as you talked about this, what are some of the things that came up as facts in this situation?
What are the facts?
I like your facts.
Well, they're getting paid $3.60 an hour.
They're getting paid $3.60 an hour.
Okay.
Fair.
Well, what's another fact? I heard someone say how they feel. Is that right? Yeah, and I would say that's fair. So talk to me about that. What is the fact that each side is feeling?
So, the frustration of the intern, that's
Yep.
a fact.
Yeah. And what about the owner?
The owner is upset.
Yep.
That is a fact.
That's a fact. That's
And
correct.
The rest of the second paragraph is stories.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. And so what are some of those stories?
Young people these days.
Young people these days. Story. Let the online audience know that there's a lot of younger people in this audience right now.
I was gonna say, yeah, the facts are young people don't work very hard, and old people just talk a lot and think they're teaching you something when they're just telling the same story.
Well, what if the owner is a young person like myself and all my interns are
Oh.
elderly individuals that want to learn about farming?
I don't know. We're not gonna tackle that today.
You just
That's a different workshop later.
so that is an excellent point, because a story that we're telling ourselves is the age of
That's
the
right.
interns
There's no
and the
facts about
age
age
of
here.
the owner, and there are no facts around this. This could literally be a young owner and older interns.
Nobody over 25 would do that.
Nobody who's 25 would do what?
Work for 200 hours.
Well, that's super fair. No, nobody
Hold on.
is.
I was just gonna say, if you boil it down to like the basics, they're both telling the same story where they both agreed to like this, like they both thought they agreed to a certain contract and they both feel that the other party is falling short.
And so
Yes. So
how could they, how could they collect more facts to change that story?
Have a
Communication.
Yeah, listen to each other.
Yeah, and what would that look like? It just brainstorm real quick.
Writing a job description,
Okay.
a checklist, evaluations.
Mhm.
The meetings.
Well, okay, that seems like a lot on the farmer's side, but what about the intern side?
No, for the interns.
Well, they'd be doing the both, they both sides would do it.
Oh, okay, yeah, see, exactly, and that's getting to something, right? It's a transparency, and it's being open on both sides to take. Because man, as the boss, if you're going, evaluate me, I mean, that is a really good step of vulnerability, and that is one of the ways you're gonna build really good communication.
and that's the safety.
Yeah,
Well,
and
showing vulnerability when you're a person in power, because
Mhm.
you're the person paying other people, directing other people, and showing some vulnerability, that builds some safety. If you listen and if you take action.
I think it's also about setting up expectations. in
Absolutely.
advance,
Yes.
Where, you then also have milestones where, after week 2, this is what I expect to learn, or this is what I expect you to hear me teach you.
and what are you doing when you're setting those expectations?
Well, you have to write them out in advance.
Well, you're communicating them to them, right? So it's like, that's clear communication. Okay, these are my expectations.
Right.
And what do you expect of me in return? Go ahead.
One thing we do that would address this is we have, in addition to our daily meeting, we have, in the beginning of the season, we answer 5 questions about how do you learn best? What are you hoping to learn?
Right.
What jobs complete you? What jobs make you feel energized? How do you accept feedback best? Do you need me to tell you everything in private? Or can I say, in public, you need to wash those radishes faster?
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just in case that wasn't picked up on the mic, I just wanted to see that I wanted to reflect back what I think I heard. At the beginning of the season, working with interns, you are asking them how they like feedback. I just blanked. Why did I
Asking
do that?
what jobs deplete them.
What jobs deplete them? Thank you. I just totally had
We
a
did
moment,
have a lot of
Bailey.
cheese earlier. We did
There
have
was
a lot of
cheese. Wow, I am listening, Bailey. Oh my goodness.
I'll send you my form.
Oh yes.
Yeah, great.
So we're actually gonna share that, but all of those things that you're talking about are also ways to build safety. What makes somebody feel unsafe? If they're a person who is extremely uncomfortable being outed when they make a mistake, that probably goes back to something in their childhood or even before. That could be epigenetic, they could be carrying it. And to call them out publicly you could lose them over that because they're so embarrassed or so ashamed. I mean, that stuff is pretty embedded stuff. So simply by asking that is a way to help create safety. So. Yeah.
I found that you've got to also know whether they're introverts or extroverts. I
Yes.
mean, I'm an extrovert, I don't think verbally, I might make me feel myself, but who's introverts, which is,
Absolutely.
and I really have to learn how to draw them out, so communicating, you have to have different ways to communicate with people, depending on their preferred style of operating.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So, so what were you noticing as you went through this discussion with each other about your own reactions to the story from your own perspectives? Who in the room is an owner? And who in the room is or has been an intern?
Yeah.
Like how is that? Yeah, so
I think our own personal experience has strongly affected how we interpreted the stories that
Mhm.
totally.
Okay, anyone else?
I feel like that's a mic drop, and I'm just going to say it again. Our own personal experience affected how we read this. How often does that happen in every interaction with every human ever?
And it's, you know, that's gonna happen, but it's the willingness to be aware that it happens in you and being willing to be curious about that. You go, okay, am I just telling a story because of my baggage that I carry around every day, or not? And it's that asking of that question and being curious. You want to add something?
Yeah, I don't know that I have that cogent of a thought, but just that.
Go for it.
We like uncogent thoughts.
It's curious.
Like reading that last sentence, the interns are frustrated that they are not getting educational value from the experience. The owners upset that the interns are slowly departing from all work by attention to the exhibit negative attitudes. Is like both a story and a fact, and having been on like this exact example, both sides, everyone's right. Like the interns probably aren't getting educational value out of experience, and they are also slow. They are doing poor quality work. They are not paying attention to detail. They are exhibiting negative attitudes. And approaching the learn how to work, I definitely felt both former intern, current, not owner, but boss, feeling the like.
And I think that what the example we had there, what they do is that's one of the keys. It's that communication piece and doing it up front. It's like by communicating constantly and openly, that's where you're gonna allow it. Because I mean, it's like you gotta be clear. You have to be clear as in what type of speed is needed, what type of quality is needed, what's the detail we're looking for. Because if they don't know that, you know, I mean, I remember my father expecting me to know how to do things like he did when I was like 8. And it's like, you're asking an 8-year-old to do what a 30-year-old man is doing. What the hell? It doesn't work that way.
And they don't even know that they are slow.
Right. And yet,
I'm faster than I was 2 weeks ago. I'm making improvements.
if you're the boss and you're so in your head about all the things that are going on and you're not paying attention to this is a contract. There's an agreement here. And part of that agreement is, in exchange for learning how to farm. And I mean, yes, of course, all of the in moving the animals and all that stuff is part of it. But it's like, I was thinking about this, a perfect example. So who has, and since a lot of you are young, maybe you haven't, the first of the Karate Kid movies. Anybody seen those? If you're of our age and you're old. Okay, so there's a bit where the sort of quiet, soft-spoken sensei is teaching the snarky little teenage Ralph Macchio karate, except he's got him doing things like painting an entire fence like this. And then polishing his car, wax on, wax off. And he never tells them why he's teaching him any of this stuff. And so, of course, Ralph Macchio gets all bent out of shape about it. And when you think about it, probably justifiably so, until the guy shows him how all of these things he's doing with his hands are actually teaching him. But it's like, you can't, that whole leaving them in the dark thing until they find out, I mean, that just sort of builds acronym. People get annoyed because they don't know what's going on.
Yeah, but you get stronger when you do something without knowing why you're doing it. That's what I got out of it.
Yeah.
I have to be doing a kung fu class, which is not my kind of thing. At the time, I finally saw that movie, and I'm like, yes, you did that right.
You have to do thousands of repetitions.
But maybe the part of it is that you need to say, look, I'm gonna have you do some things. You need to trust me that I will get you something. That I am taking trust that I am teaching you, even though it may not seem like I'm teaching you. Trust that I'm getting you there. Right.
Yeah.
I just want to say, last sentence describes a situation that's, when communication is broken down, what it does is it creates a feedback, there's resentment on both.
Yeah.
Kids stop working as hard, farmers stop trying to teach them.
Yes.
I think that the important thing is once you're in that situation, or something that just happens, how do you get out of it? How do you break that feedback?
Well, yeah, and there's some things, I think we're gonna get into something. I think we should probably move on just because.
I think that was good.
You guys okay?
Oh, we also have a comment from online, building some small wins in to buoy morale until the big wins start coming in at the end of the season. That is a good one too. Thank you, Ben.
And so I think one of the things is this. So these are the things that really work. And this is for everybody. Respect is one of them. You just need to learn how to work. Maybe not the most respectful approach to talking about this problem, right? I mean, go back. You know, the interns just need to learn how to work. Okay, maybe that's not the best way to phrase it. It's not a very respectful approach. But it's getting into these things of curiosity, being honest, speaking truthfully, being open. You know what I mean? And if you're having them fill out, if you're willing to, okay, I'm going to do an evaluation of you, you're going to do an evaluation of me. Now, when I was, I was a land use planner for 20 years. And the last 6 years, I was leading the planning department in an engineering firm. And we had the firm had a staff evaluation where you, as the leader, would evaluate your staff. I added the reverse one for my team because if I'm not meeting their needs, we don't function well as a team. And it's like super important to do that. So it's like being open to criticism by people who are supposedly less learned than you or in less authority than you. That's a level of vulnerability that still creates that trust. And you know, if I tell someone that I'm willing to take your criticism and really receive it, that is going to make them a lot more likely to be like, okay, I'll trust what you want. I'll trust you. But curiosity is really, I think, one of the biggest things. Is that the next slide? Yeah. Okay. So curiosity helps you shift perspective, and this is being curious about, okay, so what's going on with that? There, if someone responds in a particular way. So if the farmer had been curious instead of frustrated, that might have changed things. So, okay, why is this? This is what I'm experiencing, and so I'm curious as to what the motivation is. So, does anybody know what this is? What are you looking at? Carpet. Okay, carpet. Who else thinks you know? Okay. Yeah. Anything else? Okay. Tapestry. So Jess gets the win. This is what is this? It's George Surratt. It's a Sunday afternoon on the island of Le Grand Jatte. And so we know it's actually a painting, right? But what if we pulled back? So we pulled back. We got away from up close. We pulled back and it's a painting. But what if we pulled back one more time? It's actually someone looking at a painting. And in fact, if you are my age, you know that this is actually from Ferris Bueller's Day Off. And that's Cameron in the Chicago museum scene. And kudos to Jen for suggesting that I pull this scene off the internet, because that was a really good idea. And you had a point you wanted to make about this too.
I did have a point that I wanted to make about this. So that when we're too close, when we are so up close, we're in it. We're so in it, we can't see it. And then we pull back a little bit and we can see a little bit bigger picture, but we don't necessarily have the context. So we talk about this all the time in farming, like grazing especially, like, all of these amazing people who come who are technical experts from other places, and they come and teach us, and they want to know, before they give us any advice, context. What are you grazing in? What soils do you work with? What's your topography? What animals do you even have? Context matters. So are we looking just at a picture that's standing alone? Or are we actually looking at a person, seeing the context of the picture as it goes? Yeah, Elizabeth.
And if you're actually dealing with someone and you're not both in it, that other person can actually help you find context.
Yes.
Help pull you out.
Well, exactly.
If you're not
And-
prepared.
And that's a
Yes.
great segue, because the point
Yes.
I was gonna make is that particularly when we're emotionally activated, we're here.
Oh,
We
yeah.
are in it, and we may even not notice it. So there is a big component that is important to think about is that the more emotionally aware of ourselves that we are, the more likely we are going to be able to communicate more effectively with other people. Because it's like we have to be able to, I mean, have you ever been so angry or frustrated or sad or full of grief that you don't even realize how deep you were in it until like a day or two later, right? And it's like, so you were this is where you were, and it's nothing to be like, oh, that's bad, but it is an impediment to good communication, right? Because you got to get out to going, oh, okay, now I have perspective, now I understand, now I've gotten curious and I've asked, why are the interns not doing this effectively? What is it? And maybe it is just they simply do not have the practice. And it's like, well, so that's where I have a conversation about, you got to practice this stuff. You're not going to be good at it until you practice, because nobody is. And in fact, Roddy's a perfect example. It's like, you don't just walk in and be like, okay, I'm gonna do black belt level stuff. No, you're gonna start and you're gonna practice. And you're gonna practice the same thing over and over and over again, because that's how it becomes muscle memory and you get really good at it.
So those interns may not have been told what the complications or the outcome of the actions that they were doing.
Yeah.
So as a manager, I do not yell at people, especially since most of the time we find our mistakes days later. I bring that to their attention, say this happened, and this is why I'm talking to you about it. Instead of yelling at them, saying you can't do that again, it's a big mistake. This is why, this is how it happened, and this is how it's affecting the rest of the population in this building or ours. And it's a different climate. It's very, 2 years ago, we were a very different company, very hostile, and now we're more family oriented, friendly, we can communicate without yelling at each other.
Nice.
Very different. Than we know what's going on.
And it feels like, and as someone who isn't a farmer, that what was I going to say? I lost my train.
I don't know.
I lost my train of
I have
thought.
a
You go.
question. I have
You
a
go.
follow-up question. So the difference between 2 years ago when it was a more hostile situation and now, how does the team function? How does the company function now that things have shifted?
Much better.
Yeah.
Much better.
Yep.
It's, it is a very different environment, more positive driven, more involvement by each employee, more opportunity too, where they're very separate departments, but they now cross train. They are, do you need any help before I leave? You know, a constant interaction now. It's very different. And knowing the full story has really helped each department understand where they all how they all work together.
And I think the idea that I have that I lost, but I now have it back, is that those places where things aren't being done right, those are teachable moments, and you have people there who are supposed to be learning stuff well, and when we can present them in a teachable way, in whatever way is the most appropriate, I think that does change the dynamic.
Look, your first question, close your eyes and write down the word. I realize now that my word is honesty.
Right.
And that's really what Communication Network is about.
Yep.
Maybe in my own life as well, but not so much, because I've been with my husband a long time. I'm seeing where he knows it. But yeah, no, at work it is communication about honesty.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
To piggyback that, a lot of times when something happens where I'm like, okay, this isn't what I thought I communicated to be done. This isn't what I asked to be done. Instead of like starting it off telling them how I feel, I ask, hey, like, I saw that you did this way, or you did this. Like, can you explain why you did it that way? And that way, like, I start off having their perspective, and then I can use their language and their perspective to kind of be like, oh, okay, like, now this is my perspective. Now let's get back to this.
And that's it. Thank you for that, because that's exactly what we're trying to demonstrate with this. Is that it's like you have to be curious to get to that point of perspective. And so this is the thing. It's like this is kind of a continuum, right? We can either be sort of operating above the line or below the line in terms of how we communicate. But one of the things that is important, I think, is to recognize that while we may have a goal or an intention to always sort of live up here day to day, we're different every day. We are not the same person every day. And so we may not always fall, we may sometimes be here. I mean, if the cows have gotten out and your neighbors were yelling at you because the cows were in their yard, and then some of the interns did something that wasn't working and, milk prices are down, you're gonna do this. And it's that being aware of where you are at. And part of that is being honest personally, I've always received it better if someone who is in authority is willing to say, look, I'm really, really stressed out. Don't overshare. Don't tell them I'm really worried that the farm is going to close and you guys are going to lose your jobs. Don't maybe do that. But this has been a really hard day, and I want to have the conversation about this. But maybe let's not do it today, so that I can be better for you tomorrow. It can be, for some of us, that can be a way to just avoid ever having to deal with it if we don't like conflict. So you have to be, again, curious about yourself and be aware of that. And I think is the next slide sort of about that?
I think it might be.
Yeah.
I think it might actually.
So this is something that we really believe in. When you are in those moments. Yeah.
I know, I'm doing this.
So seriously,
Showed it off
this takes no time at all. So if you're in a position where you're like, starting to get in it and get too close, pause, breathe, notice your breath, focus on your breath for a second and notice what's going on. Whether it's with, the person has just said something that is like, you're just like, I'd like to kill you right now. Pause, breathe, and notice what's going on. And that's where you go, okay. So I noticed that was maybe a little antagonistic. What's going on? And genuinely ask that, be curious about it. And if it's like, man, I probably maybe shouldn't be yelling at the intern like that. What's going on with me? And also having the willingness to apologize, because that matters. That's part of being honest and being vulnerable and being willing to say, I'm sorry, that was not appropriate, or that was not okay, and I apologize. Because you gotta, if you're in a leadership position, you have to be willing to do that. It's, what do you say? Okay, I'm gonna talk to them for a second. I'm gonna look something up because I have a thought.
Okay. So, and to add on to this too. So when we're in a moment and it's really hard to pause, and this goes back to that overwhelm, that trauma bit of too much too fast. Sometimes we are having a terrible day and something is broken and somebody called in sick and or 6 people had COVID, whatever. We know farms where that happened too. And then whatever that straw is, we don't feel like we can pause. We don't feel like we can breathe. That is exactly when to close your eyes.
So let's everybody.
Good feel we're back online again. Yay.
Go ahead and close your eyes again. Take another inhale, deep inhale, and allow it out and exhale. And now, after we've had this conversation, one word is going to pop in about communication. Just go ahead and write that down. Just allowing whatever comes in, even if it's string. And so, does everybody have it? Yeah. So what do you guys notice about what do you notice? Is there anything different about the 2 words? Go ahead and share. I'd love to hear.
Well, early on, I said tough was my first word, and then this time it was a little more, I was talking back between comfort or clarity. So that's totally different than tough.
Yeah, excellent. Anyone else want to share?
I'm still gonna go with string.
Perfect.
But I think I have a thought of what it
Okay.
Actually being about like even tensioning on string and maintaining even.
Cool.
My first word was hard. and my word now was worth it.
Excellent.
Sorry, that's 2 words.
That's fine.
That counts.
Well, it's allowed.
That's totally counts.
And dialogue to listening.
Ah, excellent. Yeah. Anyone else?
Wow. So the word that I had when it came up is was like electrical. And the second word I came up with is calm.
I didn't come up with any words because I was listening.
There we go. So we did include some resources. If you would like to learn more about the listening side of things, Mark Rulston was a hostage negotiator, and a lot of the material that has helped me when I was working in extension, work with farmers, and has helped me in my marriage as well.
And I've been holding her hostage for a very long time.
That's super, super true.
Wow.
Helping.
I feel
I'll
seen,
blink
but not in a good
twice. Anyway, so Crucial Conversations is a great way to structure how to lead conversation, really important conversations. As well, if you're into the leadership side, Brene Brown, Dare to Lead is a really excellent way. Daring Greatly is also an excellent one, and Atlas of the Heart is the one that talks about emotions. And then we didn't exactly talk about it, but Mindset by Carol Dweck is about having an open mindset and that learning curiosity side, and a closed mindset. And there's some very interesting challenges that come with having a closed mindset. And even the most open of us can have closed mindsets about certain things. It's all good to know. And then if you wanna, this is Chris and I and the work that we do. We also still do farm as well, but this is the other work that we do, and we'd be happy to talk with you, anyone about that. And
Does anyone have questions?
yeah, we have
got time.
some time. Any thoughts?
I was just gonna actually make a comment of something that I realized this year. So I'm a farm owner, farm with my partner, who's a 5th generation farmer, and one of our like holistic goals, or one of the things I would say is that we had an intern this year, that your communication, we value communication. The fact is we suck at communication, the two of us.
Mhm.
So to bring an intern on is a huge challenge. And this year we had a female intern. And for me, communication, to watch our communication fall apart in front of a third person was a very traumatic situation. But on that honesty side of it, what I learned is how important that communication with that other person is. So I made a point, one, realizing that we totally went against what we said we were. Like, so I put this person into this position that I said we value communication, and like we just don't do it well. And so now she might feel uncomfortable. And I just had a very honest conversation really early on, because it was uncomfortable for me, of how she was feeling and her comfort level and what she was willing to go through. And basically tried to be her safety net, that she was allowed, first of all, it could never happen to her, because it was happening to me, not her, and I didn't think it was, but that she could always come to me honestly, that if she was ever uncomfortable, to say that. And that dialogue stayed open all summer, and we all learned a lot, because my partner and I needed to have bad communication for it to be obvious, so that we could work on it, versus I can totally cover it up and move on, probably as I had in the last 8 years. And I guess my whole point is just to tell people, like, it doesn't have to be perfect.
Mm-hmm.
It turned out to be an awesome summer, and we all really enjoyed it. It was really hard, but putting that person who maybe doesn't want to be in that, if you are the leader, you can suck at something if you're honest about it.
Yeah.
And you create safety within that kind of uncomfortable, unsafe situation. So
nice.
Totally.
Chris, if you had to think about, from however many years you've been doing the emotional healing journey yourself, if you had to think about one word for communication from kind of before you started it, that maybe led you down that path to like even now, and I know like the journey's never done, but like what would be maybe your 2 words?
Well, willingness is the word, because we got to be willing to grow. We have to be willing to grow, and if we're not, then we're living on the bottom of it. You know, if we're not willing to grow, then this is where we are living. We're operating in this level, and so would you say that you guys grew this summer?
My partner and I?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you did say it was hard. Yes, you did say it was hard, right?
Yeah, I'm not sure where we need to be, but we're better.
Yeah, but there's a progression, and so expecting growth to be easy is probably not reasonable. So it's hard, but you've got to be willing to grow, and willingness is everything. It's like I've learned with, you know, I'll have clients who I have, and I'll do a 1 session with them, and I'll never see them again, and it's like really clear when working with them that they're not willing to go there. You know, and some people will go to a point and then they'll of sort of deep emotional healing, and they'll be like, I had another guy who I worked with who had some really, really deep trauma, and we had a frank conversation at one point because he was sort of clearly he was sort of going around everything and sort of avoiding it, and I was like, you know, you got to be willing to do it. And he's like, you know, I think I'm at a point where I feel better, but I'm just not willing to do that. And that's okay, because you don't have to be willing, but you have to recognize that if you got to be willing. It's that committed to learning. It's like, you got to learn about yourself. You got to learn about other people. You got to learn, you know.
And I think recognizing someone's willingness too, because where I'll
Yes.
say my partner and I, there's a lot to go, but willingness is what keeps it going.
Right.
Like it's the day that defensiveness or that door is shut, that it's like, there's nothing. But as long as someone's willing, then all of a sudden you accept all that stuff and you keep working.
Yeah.
Do you have thoughts on how to invite that willingness within a relatively short period of time? Context being, context being, so I run a college farm, so we have interns we get for 15 weeks in the summer, many of whom have never had a job before, and our adult staff of 3 have worked really hard on setting this, like, we have so many check-ins up to be open and curious and committed on our end, and I think we're doing a relatively good job. Some kids right off the bat are like, hell yeah, brother, I'm meeting you there, let's do this. And it can be really hard within 15 weeks to invite a student who hasn't experienced this type of communication before into being willing to sharing that with us, since it feels like we're running into a wall and being like, I don't know how to give you what you want, how to help you. So other than modeling, which we can do to the best of our extent,
Right.
do you have thoughts on how to invite that willingness and how to be explicit in saying, like,
Just like that.
One, I do think that in continuing to invite and keeping this.
sometimes I do this to them and it just freaks them out.
Come in, yeah. I actually, so I think that there are things that we can talk about and we can demonstrate and we can support. And I think there is also a somatic component to it. Because if they aren't, it's not just a willingness, there's something holding them back. So what is that that's holding them back? And somatic just means like of the body, essentially. So that is something that's, it's maybe a little lodged in. It's maybe like they don't even know. If you're inviting them and they're like, yeah, I'm in, but they're like, yeah, I'm in. And you're like, you don't look like you're in. Then I think that so what I have found to be useful is some actual somatic practices like yoga can actually help with some. It doesn't seem related. I know it's like yoga and farming don't necessarily seem like they go together, and yet some eat. I love that you're nodding. I love that you. Yes. So in some of the circles I turn in, yoga and ranching or farming do not necessarily mix, except that they really do. They really do, and they really can. But other somatic, maybe it's dancing. Maybe that student is like, I am not going to dance. That's a no. Maybe it is doing art with them. That's a somatic That's actually why I started to incorporate art, practice-based art, not trying to create something beautiful art, but practice-based art into some of the work that I've been doing, because people don't necessarily want to go and do an emotional healing session, but they don't mind doodling in a constructed way, and things come up.
And it's not, so we can't force somebody to be willing.
No,
But you
that's true
can
too.
provide every opportunity. for them
That's
and
a great
find out what works.
Yeah.
On the left.
I just want to riff kind of on what you said and respond to that. I used to manage a college farm with 90 volunteers.
No, we should talk, yeah.
Totally. If you don't know each other, yeah.
Yeah.
So I have had people, a lot of people come through my farm, and those people that are harder to reach, like one said person worked for me for 3 years, her mother described her as a hardcore introvert. And you know when that person would open up to me? When we were hand milking the cow together. She wasn't looking at me. Who knows what is up with her in her body. But the rhythmic grounding activity, she would tell me her hopes and dreams during that time. And just because someone isn't necessarily emoting doesn't mean they're disagreeing with you or not participating. She did an exit survey for this fall, and she loved working on our farm. She felt like so comfortable there. She didn't always say that. We couldn't necessarily read that, but you know, sometimes certain people, you have to give them a little more privacy in order for them to open up.
Yep.
And I would add on to that, Bailey, that is a somatic component right
Yeah,
there. You're
yeah, and-
physically
yeah.
doing some very calming, repetitive work. But yes.
Yeah, I was gonna say something similar, but I feel that the like verbal emoting isn't like everyone's
No.
communication style too, and I feel like I am someone who emotes a lot, and so I feel like I've had trouble with people whose like emotions aren't visible, and I feel like I've just had to learn to just let that be, and maybe like, are there written surveys? Are there other ways, or like even just that being verbally and truly open so that if they do have something they want to say, they know you're there, might be enough of a comfort for someone. And that kind of with the milking thing, I was thinking, I mentor a middle schooler, and I feel like a lot of the training that we've had around that from this community program is like driving in the car next to someone.
Mhm.
Yes.
The best.
Yeah.
Riding in
the
cars,
like across
yes.
this 14-year-old, and I'm like, so how's your life? Like I didn't get nothing.
Yes.
But when we're driving together and we're listening to music, I'm like, oh, like I feel like you play this a lot. Like what does this make you think of? Like that is an incredible memory.
And that ability to get curious and ask questions like that is really good. Yeah, really good. Go ahead.
I just want to riff on that a little bit, which is that's part of meeting people where they are,
Yeah.
and that leadership quote that you just talked about that's a form of caring for your charges.
Yes.
It's like finding out how people learn, how they communicate, and tailor. I tailor myself as a boss to each person. I am
Yeah.
the boss they need me to be, not the boss that I am. I find out what they need in order to thrive.
I love that. That's great.
I know.
Simon Sinek says that same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Going on with what you guys are doing. The only other thing I thought was like there's a lot of like nonverbal communication that we do, and sometimes we're not even aware of it.
Yep.
So like, you know, like sometimes if you have somebody that's like not opening up, it might be because you're somehow not giving them enough space, even if you're not saying words. It doesn't give them space. It's like body language and all of that.
Yeah, we just have a couple more minutes. One thing I wanted to say is I wanted to give a big shout out and thank you to Bruce Hennessy. Some of these from Maple Wind Farm, some of these slides are his. He and I have co-taught this communication workshop. We did it in a very different way. Bruce wasn't able to attend this this time because he's at another conference this weekend, but and Chris stepped in. So it's a little bit different, but I just wanted to give Bruce some props for some of his many contributions to this as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Any other thoughts before we close?
There is cheese
Well,
downstairs.
thank you, everybody. It's going to be a cheese reception. So the book I was talking about was by Simon Sinek, Sinek. And hold on, it is called Start with Why.
Oh, yes.
How great leaders inspire everyone to take action. Just look up Simon Sinek, Start with Why. He actually has there's a supplementary book
Yes.
that allows you to sort of go through the process. It's great. If you
It's
really
called
wanna
Find Your Why.
Find your why. If you really want to sort of go, it's like, what is the core of what I'm trying to do? It's a wonderful exercise to go through to get there.
Actually, because there are several of you in the audience, the heart of the start of the Choosing to Farm podcast was in following the Find Your Why process, but doing that with farmers.
Yep. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you guys so
Thank you
much
for
for
your time.
joining us. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.